Hello and good evening. I'm Carol Mitchell and welcome to the Black Robe podcast. We are excited tonight to have two guests in the house from the Black Future Co-op Fund. First of all, our own Senator Tawana Nobles is here, but in her role as architect of the Black Future Co-op Fund. Thank you, Senator, for being with us tonight, along with Candace Jackson, who works for Pyramid Communications, but also is a partner with the Black Future Co-op Fund and helping to design from the ground up a revolutionary effort to not only hear what Black people need, but also respond to that need. So we're going to talk a little bit, Senator Nobles, about the history of the Black Future Co-op Fund. How did it get started and what was the intent behind it?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk about the Black Future Co-op Fund. So we are just over a year old this summer. We turned 1 year old last summer during 2020, during the racial uprising. Four of us, architects and co-founders of the Black Future Co-op Fund. And so that's myself, Michelle Merriweather, Andrea Capane, and Angela Jones. We thought about all of the action that was taking place across the nation to protest what we saw happen to George Floyd, but what has happened to Black folks in our community for far too long. And we wanted to make sure that we too were demanding an end to that type of violence and abuse on Black and brown bodies. And we opted to storm the steps of philanthropy and raise money for the Black community, so that we could directly invest in the needs, address the gaps that we are familiar with in the Black community. But we also knew that in addition to, setting a goal to raise $25 million and being over halfway there at this point, we wanted to take our time to do some research and hear directly from community about their needs. I mean, what we want is a liberated future for Black Washingtonians. We know that Black Washingtonians are essential to shaping our state's collective future, and there's an active role that we get to play. We want to make sure that with opportunities like grant funding and building networks and supporting nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations, that we are connecting Black communities across the state. And the Black Future Co-op Fund is just one effort to do so. And we want to foster Black health, wealth, and well-being. And we have been busy. I mean, we're 1 year old, but we have already granted $1 million to 40 Black-led organizations across Washington state. We have been partnering with groups like the Seahawks and OL Reign. In fact, folks have probably seen on social media, we've been trying to win $25,000 in partnership with OL Reign and Nationwide Insurance. We are featured on the jersey, on the kit of OL Reign, which really has elevated Black Future Co-op Fund's platform and audience. And we're so grateful for those types of partnerships across the state, because they have introduced us to their friends and their fans. And it's been great just to tell more people about our primary areas of impact. I mean, we want to connect Black communities for collective power. We want to promote a truthful Black narrative. We are such a beautiful and powerful people. We have ancestors that are tremendously proud of us and whose legacies we want to carry forth. And so we want to make sure that we're continuing to center those Black voices and experiences as we do work in this state. We want to invest in Black generational prosperity, and we want to simply shift the paradigm of philanthropy. We are the first and only by and for Black philanthropic organization in Washington state. And so, I
love it.
Feel so joyful knowing that we get to celebrate Black genius, Black art, Black culture, and Black joy every single day.
I love that. That's right. More than 2 snaps in Z formation. Remember back in the day, we used to say 2 snaps in Z formation. I know Candace is snapping because you have your work cut out for you. Part of gathering the input and the narrative that Senator Nobles referred to is through the just recently launched Black Wellbeing Survey. and you are a primary architect of that effort. Tell us a little bit about the history of the survey and how it is going to be used.
Yeah, so this builds on existing work, as all of our work does in Black spaces, but this builds on existing work that happened back in 2015. So this is a report that if you look on Bird Bar Place's website, there were some of the same partners that are around the table contributing to this report, contributing to a 2015 report. And that report was intended to galvanize us and move us into a space where we're organizing a little bit better together, where we have the data to push policymakers and push our systems to do the things we know they need to be doing. And when we look back, you know, that report did so much for our community around the goals that it had. And now the data is outdated. So Black Future Co-op Fund architects came to Pyramid and said, hey, we want to redo this report. Can we pull the crew back together? Can we do a report for us, by us? And myself, coming from a public health background, I was thrilled. I'm like, this is the moment, this is the time. We need to do this, and we need to do it with our community. So as we started to set this process up, we started to think about, well, how do we hear from our community? How do we understand what really is meaningful to our community in this space of well-being? What is well-being to our community? How does that align with those 5 areas of the first report, which were around criminal justice, which is now criminal legal system in the new report. We've learned some things. Mm-hmm. We are also looking at economic security, economic mobility. We're also looking at health and healthcare. We're looking at civic engagement, and we're looking at what is our 5th one? Yeah, looking at, which ones did I say? I said civic engagement, health,
the legal system, economic security, education. How can we forget that one?
How am I forgetting education? Look, I know I said them. So we have those 5. And we looked across those 5, and we wanted to talk to folks who are both in community and also who have some intimate knowledge of those systems to help inform our conversation and where we go with that. So we started off really thinking through what the engagement process was going to be so that we could bring community with us in this effort.
Well, I'm glad you did that. I took the survey, and first of all, for most people who say, I don't want to take another survey, it's only 10 minutes. And you are giving an incentive. There's a chance to enter to win a $100 gift card. I like the fact that you said to buy at a Black business of your choice. Hello, thank you very much. But what I also enjoyed is the fact that you gave space for us to give you qualitative answers, not just yes or no, or rate this on a Likert scale of 0 to 5, right? You allowed us to define what well-being looks like, what accountability looks like, what leadership looks like. And so one of the questions I had for Senator Nobles and for you, Candace, is how are you going to aggregate all of that very customized, individualized answering that we did? Because, you know, if 1,000 people take the survey, you might get 800 different answers to what is accountability. How does it work on the back end? How are you going to draw themes from it?
Well, I'll let Candace answer that question, but I will, before she does that, I will specify again our objectives. I mean, this information is so important because we want to make sure that we are supporting organizations across Washington State and that it's a collective effort. I mean, this is a co-op, a cooperative, and so we need everyone and all of their knowledge and information to do so. This information will help us to have a better idea of how to direct resources, how we should invest in Black prosperity and health and well-being. And it also will give us an opportunity to inform policy change so we can fix these structural injustices and take a stab at advancing equitable opportunities. And Candace can kind of break down a little bit more of how we plan to get there.
How will you do it? So first of all, the survey is running through November 24th. and people can take it online. It's on the Facebook page of Black Future Co-op. Obviously, it's on your website. I saw it on Twitter. We tweeted it out on the IBJ's Facebook page as well, and our Twitter. So go somewhere and find that link and take it. Now, once we all take it, how are you going to calibrate it? What it all means?
Yes, so we have an amazing team of people working with us. Like Senator Noble said, we don't do any of this work alone. We actually are working with a research firm, Cardia, who does research and evaluation, and some amazing folks on their team. Both have, qualitative research skills in addition to some very fancy software that we'll be using to validate things.
Algorithms.
So all sorts of fun algorithms that pull out black magic. It's going to be amazing.
I love it.
Amazing. So we're both using our eyes, our ears, right? We're very intentional about making sure that the qualitative analysis is done by Black folks. This is a report done by and for Black folks, right? So making sure that hand is in it, but also making sure that we do our due diligence to pull forward the themes that we see through some actual software and folks who have the technical background in qualitative analysis.
And when will the community get to know, how you take a survey and then you never really see what exactly came of it? I know you're going to have an event after the first of the year. So tell people when and how they can hear about the results.
Yeah, so important for us to walk with community in this process. So the event will be an unveiling in early 2022 of both the results, but also a deepening of the conversations that we've begun to have. So we have, just from the first series of focus group discussions in those 5 areas that we listed, have come up with several cross-cutting themes that if you take the survey, you'll see the themes in the report, but they are things like Senator Nobles, you mentioned, truthful narrative. That was a strong theme in our early focus groups. And so things like truthful narrative, community building, healing and wellness, accountability, those are themes that have come out that we want to deepen the discussion around. The qualitative pieces are great. And there's some stuff you just aren't going to get until we actually get in a room together and deepen that discussion. So we want to, this isn't just about us reporting out like what happened in the survey. It's also about us working in community space to validate and to ground truth some of what we're seeing. So as we interpret, we want to bring that back to community. We want to say, is this right? Is this what we heard from you? And what would you add to that conversation?
And I love the fact that you are offering the survey in a lot of languages that Black African descent people speak. When I saw Haitian Creole on there as an option, I said, well, wow, the only thing missing is my Gullah Geechee that I speak sometimes when I'm mad.
Right.
So next year, maybe you can add Gullah.
I got you.
But I think even doing that shows a level of understanding that the Black community is not a monolith, and it certainly is not solely English speaking in Washington State. There are a lot of people who have immigrated here from other places for whom English is not their first language. So I appreciate that, and makes your life a little more complicated on the back end, but that's where the software will help you out.
That's
so
right.
Can we tell people where is the best place for them to go to quickly find the survey? We'll make sure we put a link when we post this podcast, and wherever it shows up, we'll make sure we put a link out there also. But what's the best and easiest way for people to find the survey and take it?
Yeah, thank you. The best place to go is blackfuturewa.org, and you can find the survey, take the survey. There's a toolkit so that you can promote it on social media that you've taken a survey, or use a toolkit to share with your networks. And please personally invite friends and colleagues to take the survey, just as you will.
And I have to, go ahead, Candace.
Yes. We are at about 25% of our goal. We are considering extending the survey. But we are at 25% of our goal. We are hopeful that over 800 Black Washingtonians respond to the survey in all different languages, because that is important to us to hear the diversity of folks across the state.
Yeah, that would be, well, let us know if it does extend, because we'll make sure that this opportunity that we've had to dialogue extends right along with it and is available to people to see and hear it. I do want to go back real quickly in these last few minutes we have to the Black Future Co-op Fund and report that the Institute for Black Justice was one of your We See You grantees. Thank you very much. I still remember the days, Senator Nobles, when I got that phone call from you, and I didn't have a clue why in the world you were trying to reach me, and you were calling every phone number I have, and I've got like 4 of them. I said, she's calling me on the bat phone. This must be important. Can you just take a moment and talk a little bit about the grant recipients? I know you've done 2 rounds, but the way that you did it was so beautiful and so surprising and so encouraging and uplifting for those of us who were startup nonprofits, just out there on the ground, right, at the grassroots level, scratching out a niche for ourselves. And along comes the We See You grant. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we definitely see each of you. And of course, we wanted to grant $1 million and give everyone the same amount. And so that was $25,000 for 40 organizations. But in essence, we already knew just from our own personal experience as executive directors and CEOs, as Black women who are the architects of this fund, we had a pretty good idea of who was leading powerful work in our communities, who's already igniting Black generational wealth and health and well-being, organizations who are already fighting to break down systemic barriers and support Black Washingtonians to be liberated, to be prosperous and self-determined. And because we could already see folks doing the work, we wanted to create a low barrier opportunity to invest. So no application. This was simply in recognition of you're already doing the work. We don't want to add anything else to your plate. No one needs to ask us for anything. We, in fact, want to thank you for doing the work that you're doing, the critical work of your organization. And absolutely, the Institute for Black Justice is, one of those organizations that is doing the work. And I remember when you were first launching your work in this organization, and gosh, you surely have made an impact in a short period of time. But we looked across the state based on our relationships, and thankfully between the 4 of us, we have lots of different relationships and knowledge of organizations. We created a major list, made sure everyone had a fiscal sponsor or was a 501c3, or we could connect them with a fiscal sponsor. But if the organization was providing culturally supportive education or youth mentoring or powering economic mobility through workforce development, or like you do a lot, provide a lot of education and supporting women and moms and being advocates, advancing civil rights and social justice, we simply wanted to say, we see you, and we want to provide you unrestricted funds that you can use as you see fit to carry out your mission.
Nonprofits love those words, unrestricted funds. And the fact that it was low barrier. I mean, at some point, you obviously have to have some sort of a process, because more and more people will want to be considered. But it was very nice just having the Seattle Foundation's check show up in the mail. I appreciate that so much. All right, so we have to close, but Candace, why don't you take the last minute here and just invite people to take the survey, tell them one more time where to go, and close it out for us.
Thank you. Yes, so please do. The survey is so important to our planning and our organizing and the ways that we push on our systems. I think we as a community are in a space of doing so much work together right now, and we have an opportunity with this report to be able to do that with more synergy, with deeper synergy, and with better connections to one another through the process. So I invite you to take the survey. Please share your perspectives. Know that it's translated in multiple languages. You've got another about 2 weeks to take the survey. Definitely get entered into the gift card situation, because there's a ton of amazing Black businesses out there that I know I would love to spend $100 at. So definitely take the survey. You can find it on the blackfuturewa.org website. That's blackfuturewa.org. And we look forward to seeing you at our event also in February, which more information will be coming out about that.
Maybe you'll come back and do another podcast.
I would love to, Ms. Carol.
Okay. Well, thank you. I know Senator Nobles in February will be knee deep in legislative action, because you know what? We always have plenty of foolishness for the legislature to fix. So thank you so very much for being here tonight. I appreciate you very much. And thank you, everybody, for listening to and watching the Black Robe podcast. We are relentlessly pursuing equity and justice for all, true justice, no exceptions, with Black African descent people as our first priority. Thanks for watching and listening. Goodbye.